Happy Halloween, all! In this edition of My Media Helpers Entertainment Online, we'll take a peek at some free and scary films that are streaming through frightening bandwidth near you. Each day this week, I'll jump on a different streaming service to give you my best picks as to what picks to check out this 2021 Halloween season. There's so many movies on these streaming services, it's hard to determine what's worth watching. I want to recommend some of my personal favorites. The films I present to you aren't necessarily award winners by any stretch of any imagination. These are solid films, and they're certainly worth a watch during the witching season. This go-around will focus on IMDBtv, free service of movies. This one was hard choosing not only movies I've seen, but also movies that were actually pretty good in my opinion. Let's see if we can scary up some winners. Here's my 5 picks. The Ring. It begins as just another urban legend, the whispered tale of a nightmarish videotape that causes anyone who watches it to die 7 days later. This horror movie came just in the nick of time and must have foreseen what was to come as the videotape started dying out in 2003. DVD was the new norm, and this movie would be less scary with a clear picture of a DVD and surround sound. According to Wikipedia, The Ring is a 2002 American supernatural horror film directed by Gore Verbinski and starring Naomi Watts, Martin Henderson, David Dorfman, Brian Cox, and Deve Chase. Sorry, Deve, if I pronounced your name wrong. The film features an original score composed by Hans Zimmer. It is a remake of Hideo Nakata's, I butchered that too, 1998 Japanese horror film, The Ring, based on Koji Suzuki's 1991 novel of the same name. Watts portrays a journalist who investigates a cursed videotape that seemingly kills the viewer 7 days after watching it. The Ring was released theatrically on October 18th of 2002 and received mostly positive reviews, with critics praising the atmosphere, visuals, and Watts' performance. The film grossed over $249 million worldwide on a $48 million production budget, making it one of the highest-grossing horror remakes. It is the first installment of the English-language Ring series that is followed, of course, by The Ring 2 and Rings. What the ending boils down to is a morality issue, a no-win scenario for the main character, and for The Ring itself, I always thought it meant the phone calls the victim would get 7 days before their death, but to what I read, it means something completely different, so keep a good eye throughout the film to find out what that is. I rarely get scared when watching horror movies, and I only can base my enjoyment on how the film was constructed. It's a well-made film that held my interest throughout. The box office doesn't lie. A perfect watch for this holiday season. Nightbreed. Terrified by nightmares of monsters, Aaron Boone goes to see a psychiatrist, Dr. Decker. But what Boone doesn't know is that Decker is really a serial killer. Decker frames Boone to take the fall for his murders, and Boone is killed by the police. But Boone is brought back to life by the monsters of his dreams, the Nightbreed, who in turn join Boone in his quest to stop Decker from killing again. Nightbreed is a 1990 American dark fantasy horror film written and directed by the great Clive Barker. At the time of its release, the film was a commercial and critical failure. In several interviews, Barker protested that the film company tried to sell it as a standard slasher film, and the powers that be had no real working knowledge of Nightbreed's story. Since its initial theater release, Nightbreed has become a cult film. At the time, I was a big comic book reader, and one of those titles happened to be the X-Men. There were no X-Men movies at the time. There were hardly any comic book movies at the time. Nightbreed stood out to me because it was centered around a group of outcasts in a supernatural world, so kind of parallel, kind of sort of how X-Men was. The makeup is great. There's enough creepy to keep it interesting. I recommend to give it a chance and let me know what you think down in the comments. The Prophecy. The angel Gabriel comes to earth to collect a soul which will end the stalemated war in heaven, and only a former priest and a little girl can stop him. Starring Academy Award winner Christopher Walken, Viggo Mortensen, Virginia Madsen, and Eric Stoltz. And another cult film, and it seems all the movies I've listed have stayed the age of time with some kind of following. The Prophecy is not a perfect film. The only real reason to watch is for Christopher Walken. I'm not sure if Christopher Walken was Gabriel or Gabriel was Christopher Walken. Walken is not exactly a character actor. He pretty much plays himself in every movie he's in. This part just suited him extremely well, and you can tell he has a blast playing the character. So much so he showed up in 2 more sequels, but bowed out the final 2 films in this 5-film series. Like a lot of films in the 80s and early 90s, you would make their discovery in the video store. I don't ever recall it showing up in the theater in my town, but if it did, it was a short run. It's also interesting to go back again to watch the film and see a young Viggo Mortensen. I didn't know who he was until Lord of the Rings, although I certainly knew who Eric Stoltz and Virginia Madsen was. It's a good cast with an acceptable script. It beats watching another pasted-together slasher movie for your scary season. If you noticed, I don't cover any of them in my spotlights because most of them are pretty terrible. I like some originality in my horror viewing, and The Prophecy serves it up well. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Panic Room. This is where it got difficult to choose. You sift through all the zombie and slasher and vampire movies hoping for something that holds your interest, and a lot of them are just bad movie making with zero originality. Panic Room caught my eye. Is it a Halloween movie, I asked myself, and myself answered back, I'm not sure. It's suspenseful. It has what I guess would scare some people. It's a good movie. I told myself I'll let you all decide. Panic Room is a 2002 American thriller film directed by David Fincher. The film stars Jodie Foster and Kristen Stewart as a mother and daughter whose new home is invaded by burglars, played by Forrest Whitaker, Jared Leto, and Dwight Yoakam. The house and its panic room were built on a Raleigh Studios lot. Nicole Kidman was originally cast as the mother, but she left after aggravating a previous injury. Her departure threatened the completion of the film, but Foster quickly replaced Kidman, and the filmmakers used computer-generated imagery to create the illusion of the film camera moving through the house's rooms. Foster became pregnant during the shooting schedule, so filming was suspended until after she gave birth. And the film's production cost was $48 million, if you're wondering. Columbia Pictures marketed Panic Room as being produced by the same director who produced Seven and Fight Club. Fincher disagreed with the approach because he believed that Panic Room did not match the tone of his previous 2 films, and that it would not appeal to the same audience. He believed Panic Room would appeal more to the audience who saw Kiss the Girls and The Bone Collector, 2 other really good movies. So don't anybody panic, just sit back, take some deep breaths, and watch Panic Room. Buffy the Vampire Slayer is a 1992 American black comedy horror film directed by Fran Rubel-Kuzia. I'm not really sure how to pronounce his last name, K-U-Z-U-I. And starring Christy Swanson, Donald Sutherland, Paul Rubens, Rutger Hauer, Luke Perry, and Hilary Swank. It follows a Valley Girl cheerleader named Buffy who learns that it is her fate to hunt vampires. It was a moderate success at the box office, but received a mixed reception from critics. And the film took a different direction from which its writer Josh Whedon intended. And 5 years later, he created the darker and critically acclaimed television series of the same name. High school senior Buffy Summers attends Hemery High School in Los Angeles. Her main concerns are shopping and spending time with her rich, snooty friends and her boyfriend, Jeffrey Kramer. While at school one day, she is approached by a man who calls himself Merrick. He informs her that she is the Slayer, or chosen one, destined to kill vampires, and he is a watcher whose duty is to guide and train her. She initially rejects his claim, but changes her mind when he vividly describes a recurring dream of hers. Additionally, Buffy is exhibiting uncanny abilities not known to her, including heightened agility, senses, and endurance. Yet she repeatedly tries Merrick's patience with her frivolous nature, indifference to slaying, and sharp-tongued remarks. Whedon's television show was far superior to this movie. With that said, also interesting to see how the studio gets it wrong. Well, almost. The Buffy film is still an enjoyable watch. It didn't wow the box office or the critics, but there's a reason it's still talked about even today. It's just a dumb fucking movie. It was a seed of an idea that grew into a larger franchise. High school student by day, vampire slayer by night, this campy and goofy film has a charm of its own. It's a fun watch for the Halloween season, and if you want to put a little levity into your tricks and treats, then put in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the movie. And that's it, gals and guys, for another Halloween go-through of what to watch on IMDBtv this Halloween season. Or should I say films I think are worth checking out? It's been fun doing these, and as time permits, I hope to get a couple more out before October 31st. So until the next video, gals and guys, bye-bye.